Okay, today's show hits so close to home with me as somebody who used to be a professor at these institutions. Our guy, Senator John Kennedy, some of the few GOP guys that I love, and Senator Hawley absolutely torch this woke Dem professor who comes to Washington and tries to lecture them on judicial oversight, et cetera, et cetera. Holy mackerel, I can't wait to share these clips. Also, I've got President Trump says he just got off the phone with President Putin of Russia. I'm going to tell you all about that. And then Representative James Comer talking about extending the Autopen investigation. I'll share a quick clip from that as well. But first, just watch this beautiful clip of our guy, John Kennedy from Louisiana, who we both love, just obliterate in such justified manner this ridiculous, elitist academic scum. Watch.
April 22nd, 2024. You said there are some members of the Supreme Court that are evil.
Will she be able to control its potential future distortion by her evil colleagues? Probably not.
Which justices were you talking about?
I'll take it your word, Senator. I don't recall using that word, but...
All right, here's what you said. You were talking about the majority opinion in Muldrow v. City of St. Louis. You said, quote, Justice Kagan, will she be able to control the opinion's future distortion by her evil colleagues? Probably not, end quote. Who were you talking about?
Sir, I'm very skeptical. If there's a transcription, it was probably a transcription error. I do not think I said...
No, you said it.
By her evil colleagues.
Why don't you own up to it? Which you call some of the members of the Supreme Court evil. Now, which ones do you think are evil?
I would have to refresh my recollection. I've been very critical of some members of the Supreme Court.
You made that statement, aren't you?
I'm
You're an officer
It doesn't sound like something that I would say.
You know what I'm embarrassed at? That you're teaching our kids.
I don't refer to Supreme Court justices as evil.
By her evil colleagues.
In the classroom,
on
sir.
On your podcast, April 22nd, 2024.
Okay, well,
big as Dallas. And you're an officer of the court, and you're here advising us to be respectful to federal judges, and you say they're evil members of the United States Supreme Court? Gag me with a spoon. You're part of what's the problem in all of this.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how that clip, it just absolutely warmed my soul. It was somebody who, you guys know how I feel about higher education. I've likened Obama, Kamala, pretty much the majority of these hypocrites, aka Democrats, as complete, stuffy, elitist, narcissistic academic scum because I know them. I've looked into their soul. I've worked with them. I know everything about them. This is who these people are. Sam Harris, you can throw them all in there. All these hypocrites, even Stephen Colbert, they all have that air of superiority, that academic, that almost displaced, misplaced academic superiority because they've got a couple of pieces of papers that are meaningless and worthless. They haven't actually done a real thing in the real world. Oh, it's such a joy to see these hypocrites be put right in their place. I want to also share this because you know how much I love Senator Hawley from Missouri. Senator Hawley here talking about how rogue judges have slapped Trump with 64 nationwide injunctions in his first term alone. Guess how many they hit Biden with? A mere 14. And watch how he points this out. Check this out.
The principle that divides when issuing a nationwide injunction is okay when it's not. When the Biden administration was subject to nationwide injunctions, you said that they were travesties for the principle of democracy. You didn't say the referral to Judge Kaczmarek was a travesty. You said his injunction was a travesty for principles of democracy. Yeah. So, in other words, the translation is just you didn't like the outcome. Is that right?
No, Senator. Look, we're talking about, I don't think Article 3 precludes this form of relief. So we are talking about prudential considerations.
Prudential meaning political?
No.
Then give me, so far I have yet to hear it. You've been questioned by multiple senators. I have yet to hear a principle other than the fact when you like the ruling, you think it's great to apply it nationally, including non-parties. When you don't like the ruling, it is a travesty for the principles of democracy, notions of judicial impartiality, and the rule of law.
Look, Senator, I'll say I think I am self-aware enough to know that my view of the underlying legal question, I am sure, colors my perception of the remedy. I think that we should all acknowledge that. And yet I do think
and
that
why shouldn't we stop nationwide injunctions for everybody?
I think
That's what we're talking about today.
Because I'm not willing to leave without relief non-parties who are
you're
injured.
not willing to leave without the ability to bind President Trump.
No, I
right?
think that...
I mean, when it's Biden, it's okay. When it's Biden, it's a travesty. When it's Trump in office, it's no holds barred, whatever it takes, right?
I believe in a powerful...
What was it that President Biden's staff said? We've got to do undemocratic, unconstitutional things to save democracy. Why is this the same
I believe
thing?
in a powerful president. I do believe in presidential power, but power and constraint are not at fundamental odds.
What is the principle?
Power.
What is the principle? The legal principle. You've referenced prudence. You've referenced the judges you don't like. What's the principle of when an injunction binding non-parties, which was never done in this country before the 1960s?
So there's many things that have changed in the last 100 or the last 50 years.
So long as it is a Democrat president in office, then we should have no nationwide injunctions. If it's a Republican president, then this is absolutely fine, warranted, and called for. How can our system of law survive on those principles, Professor?
I think a system in which there are no meaningful constraints on the president is a very dangerous system of law.
That's not what you thought when Joe Biden. That is not what you thought when Joe Biden was
every president.
You said that is not what you said. You said it was a travesty for the principles of democracy, notions of judicial impartiality, and the rule of law. You also said
the Supreme Court senator agreed 9-0 with me on that.
You also said when Joe Biden was president, you said the idea that anyone would foreign shop to get a judge who would issue a nationwide injunction was just judges looking like politicians in robes. Again, it threatened the underlying legal system. People were just trying to get the result they wanted. It was a travesty for the rule of law. But you're fine with all of that if it's getting the result that you want.
Sir, the Supreme Court agreed unanimously with me in that case, right? There was no standing. The case should never have been allowed to proceed. And the combination of parties without standing and the single judge division.
We're talking, no, they did not. They did not issue a ruling on the nationwide injunction. You criticized the injunction nationwide. Listen,
issued in a case where no one had standing.
Here's the thing. We've now gone 6 minutes, and Senator Kennedy had you for 6 or 7. You couldn't identify a single principled basis. We all know the truth here, which is it's not just you. It's most of my colleagues over here on this side of the aisle, who I respect a great deal, and they were raising very principled objections to the nationwide injunction just 6 months ago, maybe 9 now. And you're probably right. My point is that all that's changed in 9 months is the occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I realize that my colleagues on this side of the aisle very much dislike that individual, and I realize that you think that the rulings that he has lost are fundamentally sound. We might grant all of that. I disagree with all of that, but we can put that to one side. The question we're talking about here is, should judges, single judges, district court judges, be able to bind non-parties who are not in front of them? And you used to say no, now you say yes. Let's be consistent. I would just suggest to you our system of government cannot survive if it's going to be politics all the way down.
You notice how Hawley, in his masterful way, tries to delineate between this is the argument, this is the law, this is how the government should function, and even though I disagree with it, they're probably right. But what we're arguing here is the fact that there has been unduly rogue activism by these judges who obviously have a specific political bent. Like I said, the hypocrisy knows no bounds, which is why I call them the Hippocrats. God bless you, Senator Kennedy. God bless you, Senator Hawley. I love these two guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Okay, we have live breaking news that's just breaking right now. President Trump said he just got off the phone with President Putin of Russia. This is what he said. Check this out. Trump says, I just finished speaking by telephone with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. The call lasted approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. I love the transparency here. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. We also discussed Iran and the fact that time is running out on Iran's decision pertaining to nuclear weapons, which must be made quickly. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And on this, I believe that we are in agreement. President Putin suggested that he will participate in the discussions with Iran and that he could perhaps be helpful in getting this brought to a rapid conclusion. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow walking their decision on this very important matter, and we will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time. And then we have a response from the supreme leader of Iran, Khamenei. Check this out. He says, "You Americans possess atomic bombs and have the massive destruction of the world at your disposal. What business is it of yours whether the Iranian nation should or shouldn't have uranium enrichment, or whether it should or shouldn't have a nuclear industry?" Well, first of all, Mr. Supreme Leader, you and your entire ilk are absolutely nuts. So that's first off. But I marvel how this guy just like acts like out of the blue that depriving Iran of nuclear enrichment and nuclear weapons is like a new thing. This isn't new. This has been going on for a long time. The whole entire world doesn't want you to have even a single fingernail access to nuclear weapons since all the way back in 1979 when your Islamic ridiculous regime took over that beautiful country that was run by the Shah, which could have been such a golden jewel. I mean, we had American tourists, American people move to Iran. It was like literally going to be the next Japan. It was an economic thunderhouse, as well as, you know, all sorts of other aspects of modernizing this amazing, rich culture in Iran that was destroyed, abolished by Khomeini and the rest of the Islamic revolutionaries in 1979. But I want to get to Putin really quickly and Trump as well. Let me know what you think in the comments of what I just said. But Putin, Trump saying that peace is not going to happen immediately. I love the radical transparency. He had this long talk on the phone. They're talking about peace. They're talking about Iran, et cetera, et cetera. Here's my take on this. So obviously, President Trump has been working tirelessly to try to find some kind of amicable, resolution to this disgusting, horrific war. Ukraine just launched drone attacks on Russia very, very recently. I think, again, I'm not a fan of Putin. I'm not defending Putin. I know he's a tyrant, a despot, a demagogue. And I also know that, he's been president for like 50 years and there's no democracy over there. It's literally just an authority, the real true authoritarian state. But I think that the number one impediment to peace in all of this, besides the vegetable that we had in office and his DEI pick Kamala, it's this petulant man-child grommet, Zelensky, the man who claims he wants peace, the man who claims that his people wants peace, but then goes and kidnaps military-aged men on the streets of Ukraine to further augment that peace. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. The way that he acted in the Oval Office, the way all my research and qualitative data that I've come up with just points towards the number one blockade is Zelensky himself. Again, I'm not defending Putin. I know Putin's a tyrant, but I think that's my take. I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. Okay, our next story, Representative James Comer from the House Oversight Committee says the investigation into the Autopen, who was behind the Autopen, continues. Check out this clip right here.
I'm very pleased to announce tonight that I expect a date to be announced very soon where every staffer will be coming forward and answering questions voluntarily by our committee. If for some reason they backtrack in the next 24 hours, then they will receive a subpoena, and they know that. With Dr. O'Connor, we have a call tomorrow with his attorneys. I expect the same from Dr. O'Connor. So this investigation is moving at a rapid pace, Sean, and you know that there's been a ton of information that's come out in the last 7 days from eyewitness accounts, the tell-all books, the Tapper book, people like Buttigieg, interviews that have surfaced where Joe Biden didn't know about executive orders he just signed. So this investigation, I think, is going to move at a pace that we're very pleased to see for a congressional investigation.
Representative Comer, I appreciate you, and I think most Americans appreciate you, but I also think most Americans want what I want. We want to see some charges being filed. We want to see some arrests because honestly, this is the biggest scandal in American history. It has become abundantly clear that this guy was cognitively impaired for the majority, if not all, of his presidency and beyond. And the fact that he told Speaker Johnson he had no clue he signed an EO, an executive order, and it gets lost in closets. And we've got all sorts of whistleblowers coming out, and we got all sorts of people saying that the Autopen was the president. This is the biggest scandal in American history. Heads need to roll. So I like your investigation, but we've heard a lot of this talk before. And quite frankly, probably the American people are sick and tired of talk, right? Yes, Mr. President, we are. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you love America, tap that thumbs up. If you want to get one of these original made in the USA designs, We the American People Have Spoken, we got a bunch of stuff, shirts, hats, mugs, sweaters, you name it, backpacks. The link to our shop is in the pinned comment and description. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here, just in case you missed them. Tap my face right there to subscribe and follow. It's absolutely free. And as always, may God bless you, and may God bless the USA and all who defend her. I'll see you soon.